Hey everyone, I just came up with a theory not too long ago regarding The Walking Dead, the final season. And that is something James said in episode 2. And that is, he talked about the Delta, how they would kidnap people to basically build their army because they're going to war up north. Who are they warring with? It's really like, I don't think they've said specifically where the new game takes place. I think it still takes place around Virginia or that area. Could the Delta be fighting the Commonwealth? In that case, good fucking luck. Could it be fighting Rick's group? I don't know. The game at this point is most likely ahead of the comics, which this game is in the comic universe. It has been confirmed it is in the comic universe. I don't want to get into a whole discussion about that. It's been, confirmed time and time again. Anyway, so I'm going to be talking about the comics and the game in this video, and possible theories on who they're going to war with. Well shit, I just came up with another theory. What if it's Oceanside? Yeah, Oceanside was a community that was previously brought up in The Walking Dead Michonne. And this could be a good way of bringing The Walking Dead Michonne into the storyline. And now, how can they do this? Oceanside is a community from the comics. If you've read the comic books, the Oceanside really has not done anything in the comic books. We've never even really gotten a look at the community itself. So it is quite possible, they could be involved in their own storyline. As the Oceanside could have been, something they did for Telltale, as a way, as like a bridge between the Telltale games and the comic books. I just thought of this as well, as Oceanside was first mentioned in the same issue Michonne came back into the comic book after the events of the Michonne game. And Oceanside, of course, was where what was left of the Fairbanks family went to. So maybe the reason they don't want to show the community is because determining characters are there. Sam could be there if you saved her. Oak could be there if he didn't die. Point is, this could be their way of bridging the gap. And here's the thing, this could also be where other Walking Dead characters have gone. What if this is where Krista's been the whole time? So while we're reading the comic books and they're talking about Oceanside, we could find out that she's been there the whole time, because Krista at this point is probably the biggest question mark from the entire series that still hasn't gotten an answer. Some people have said she is dead. You hear a gunshot and immediately, right before the gunshot, you hear Krista screaming, then gunshot goes off, she stops screaming. Most likely she got killed. What if she got shot somewhere else and basically just like ran off and stayed quiet, and then tried finding Clementine but never did find her? It would be cool if Jesus went there, found Krista, and maybe here, like, he could talk about, or she could talk about Clementine, and then the other one will put two and two together and maybe go looking for Clementine again. That is, if Jesus is still alive by the time the game takes place, because as of right now, in the comic books, We are on issue 184. Issue 184 came out today. And spoilers for issue number 184, which just came out today. So I don't want to spoil the issue for you guys, but we are coming up close to issue 200. A lot of shit's going on in the Commonwealth right now. Dwight might be wanting to attack the Commonwealth, and this could be what sets off a chain of events which could cause a character or multiple characters to die. Because a couple issues ago in the letter hacks, and for you guys who don't read the issues, the individual issues, or for people that aren't too familiar with the comics themselves, the letter hacks are basically, they're at the end of just about every issue, and the letter hacks are basically a Q&A with Robert Kirkman and Sean Mackwicks, who's the editor. And Robert Kirkman, of course, is the creator of the entire Walking Dead franchise. The one thing that was basically asked was, will there be a big debt in issue 200? Because people are kind of expecting a big debt, and we're not too far off from issue 200, 16 issues away. And Robert Kirkman basically says that a character is going to die before issue 200. And he said it was one of the characters that was mentioned in the letter hacks. Now, for those of you who are like, oh good, that's a big clue, they basically said a lot of big characters in the letter hacks. I'm pretty sure Maggie, Rick, Jesus, Michonne were all brought up. Carl was brought up. So figuring out who will die is going to be very difficult, so we just gotta wait. Hell, a death could happen next issue, because the cover for next issue, which I'm going to show right now, shows Carl on it, and it's a pretty, you know, ambiguous looking cover. It looks like some shit could go down. Always be prepared for big things happening in The Walking Dead, because you never quite know when it's going to happen. And then we have the issue 186 cover, which is right here, which shows Rick in danger. So the thing is, this could be scary. We could be coming up to a character death sooner rather than later. As I said, there's only 16 issues left. The death could be in issue 199, or it could be in the very next issue, 185. And that's scary. And I got off topic. Fucking hell. Anyway, how this goes back to the Walking Dead game is basically this. Jesus is one of the biggest characters in the comic book, so he is. And he is also a character that has appeared in the Telltale game. So is Michonne. Michonne has never had interaction with Clementine. Jesus could be a way to bridge the gap. And if anything happens to him, well, then that makes it less likely. Even though out of all the characters that could die, personally I think Michonne is the most likeliest to die. I just feel as though they're kind of gearing up for it, which sucks, because Michonne is one of the best characters, and to see her go would really fucking suck. Especially because, here's a spoiler for the comics again, but remember the Michonne game, how she was traumatized over her daughters? Well, guess what? She found her daughter. One of them. And we got confirmation on what happened to the other daughter and her ex-husband. Dominic, her ex-husband, and Colette, her youngest daughter, both died. Elodie, the eldest daughter, lived and is now living at the Commonwealth. So that was a huge crazy moment from the first issue that came out this year, issue 175, which came out in like the first week of January, so that was crazy. And it seems as though we're eventually getting to a point where everything is starting to connect. I mean, think of it like this: Telltale only have 2 more episodes left, and I also want to say some good news I have for the Walking Dead game, which it was actually revealed in the newest letter hacks. So it's a bit more hope that the Walking Dead game is going to get finished. So guys, really, you should start reading the comic books, because the comic books are excellent, so they are. And if you want to see what happens to Glenn, Herschel, Sean, you know, Herschel's son, Michonne, Elodie, Colette, Dominic, Sadiq, and Jesus, and even the group James was in, which was the Whisperers, read the comic book seriously, because that's the version of the characters that appear in the game. But yeah, so here it is. Here's something Sean Mackwicks, the editor, said, and I quote: "Glad you're enjoying it. I am Team Violet as well. The second episode just dropped last week. Episode 3 is planned for 11/6, and episode 4 for 12/18. We'll probably be answering a lot of Clem questions after that one." And then Robert Kirkman added, "Heh," basically hinting something could happen. Now granted, these letter hacks are from a couple issues ago. Like the letter I just read right now is from the newest issue, which came out today. But these questions are from 2 issues ago, which is basically 2 months ago. Now, I think the replies are done closer to when the actual issue comes out. So, at this point, they could be aware of what happened to not Skybound, that's Robert Kirkman's company, what happened to Telltale. So this is interesting. I'm just reading this part here. Maybe it'll give me more of a clue as to when the letter hacks were read. I'll just read this out to you, because I already read this issue a while ago. It says, "See you back here next month. I hope you have / had a good time at New York Comic Con. Maybe I shook your hand. If not, you should have said hi when you saw me buying Transformer toys." And Robert Kirkman said this. And this is what ended the letter hacks. So this was done before New York Comic Con. Now I'm pretty sure New York Comic Con starts tomorrow, October 4th. It is October 3rd today, so yeah, interesting. Man, this was a great issue. Seriously, really great issue. So yeah. Now, another possibility is the Commonwealth. A more explained for you video game fans, the Commonwealth is basically the biggest community in the Walking Dead franchise we've ever seen, with about 50,000 people in it. And it's not just one place called Commonwealth. There are subsections. I think the place they introduced last issue was called Greenville, something like that, where there's other people. Now they could be a part of the 50,000, but still, who's to say there's not more familiar characters there? I mean, how many people could realistically be left in America? And if the Commonwealth has 50,000 people, and there's other communities like the ones from the novel, the one from the upcoming Overkill game, which they have said is canon to the comic book. The Saints and Sinners game, which I'm pretty sure takes place in the comic universe and is probably going to be canon. And all the other stuff that is canon to the comic books, with all the different communities. Seeing how this place has 50,000 people, there absolutely realistically, well, maybe not realistically, but hopefully there are more familiar characters. So we could see a character appear in the comics. Now, I know a lot of people have said Clementine should appear in the comics. I think at this point, having Clementine appear in the comics is pretty much impossible. And the reason I say this is because the comic books are done one way. They're not based on choices, and you may say, well, all they have to do is be ambiguous on what happened to Clementine. They could be, but they're still the way she looks. She could be missing a finger, she could have a scratch on her cheek, on her forehead, or have AJ tattooed on her wrist. So let's say she enters the comic and she's missing a finger. Well, what happened to the people that didn't pick the alone ending, that went with Kenny, that went to Wellington, that went with Jane, that have different injuries or markings on her? You know, that's one thing that's going to be hard to get around, unless all that stuff happens to her in episode 3 and 4. Like, let's say someone cuts off her finger, or someone could torture her in the next episode. I don't know why someone would torture her by writing AJ on her hand, unless they kill AJ and they're like, here's a little, remember, like a little memorial for him, we'll just tattoo his name on your hand. Yeah, but I think we could be seeing the characters start to cross over. Another cool thing from the new issue of The Walking Dead is Eugene. Now, Eugene is important because he's basically how we found out about the Commonwealth. He's the one that got into contact with them by a radio he fixed, and he is basically, he can make anything. He is really good, so he is very useful. And right now what he has plans to do is work on fixing up a train, which he says, pretty sure he says the engine is still intact, it's in good condition, so maybe he can get it working. It may take a long time, but he is determined, because the reason he wants to do this is because the Commonwealth is all the way in Ohio, and Rick's groups like Alexandria, the Hilltop, the Kingdom, Sanctuary, Oceanside, they are all in Virginia. So obviously it's a long travel, especially because they don't have cars anymore, they use horseback. So most likely they are going, like a train would make this 10 times easier. Now here's the thing, trains are not something that are completely foreign to the Walking Dead universe. The novel, I think it was Search and Destroy, which is the 7th novel of The Walking Dead, and in that novel there's a time skip between Invasion, which is the 6th novel, and Search and Destroy, which, as I say, was the 7th novel, where Lily Call, not the same Lily from the game, it's a different Lily, her and her community, who have branched out with other communities, are working on fixing up a train so they can get in and out of Atlanta. And that the community Lily is from is Woodbury, which is where that was the governor's place. And Woodbury in the comic universe is still a functional community. Woodbury is still occupied by survivors. So, you know, we could start seeing all these characters connect. Hell, there's even another Walking Dead story out there called The Walking Dead The Alien, which is a free comic you can get. Well, it's basically, you look up The Walking Dead The Alien. It is a comic spin-off, kind of like how Fear the Walking Dead is a spin-off of the Walking Dead TV show. The comic book The Alien is a comic book Brian K. Vaughan and Marcus Martin did, with help from Skybound and Robert Kirkman, which is about these two characters. I'm not going to say who one of them is because it's a massive spoiler, and I do not want to spoil this story for you guys because it's a great plot twist and it's awesome. That's all I'm going to say on it. This comic book follows two characters, as I said, who are in Barcelona, Spain. One of them is an American who went there right when everything went to shit, so he is pretty much stuck there. And he wants to get back to America so he can find his brother and get into contact with his family. And the woman he's with, their names are Jeffrey and Claudia. And Claudia knows of a way to get back to America. She knows where to get a boat, and she's trying to go back there, but she needs help from Jeffrey. So they try to find a way to America. Now, the thing about their story is this story takes place in Barcelona, Spain, so that pretty much answers a question that's been asked for The Walking Dead for a long time, which is the whole world infected, or is it just America? Well, if America and Spain are infected, I would imagine the whole world is pretty much infected. So they try to get to a boat, and a question people have asked is, will the characters from The Walking Dead The Alien show up in the comic book? And that is something that it may or may not happen. The Commonwealth is a good way for those characters to show up, but yeah, so that's what I gotta say. I think more and more as we find out more about this world, as more things in this world get introduced, they're coming up with more and more connections. Basically, you can say The Walking Dead is basically like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It basically is. You know, it has two separate universes and continuities: the comic universe and the TV universe. And, you know, they have their connections. You know, the comic obviously has the Telltale games, the TV show has Fear the Walking Dead, and they have others as well, both the TV and the comic universe. But yeah, so I know this video went on random theories, but I feel as though overall it made sense. So yeah, the Delta could be warring with Oceanside, or it could even be warring with another community. But either way, I think Krista has better chance of showing up. Now, you may say it's pretty coincidental to have two characters show up back to back in the game, and you could say, yeah, it is. It kind of is, but the fact that communities at this point have gotten big, and the fact that so many communities are close to one another, that are connecting to each other, is it really too coincidental? I mean, we know Krista was heading north. What if she missed Wellington entirely? What if she got to Wellington, wasn't accepted in, and just kept going north? What if she went somewhere else? The possibilities are pretty much endless on what could have happened with these characters. So always be open-minded to characters crossing over, crossing paths. Krista may never see Clementine again. Maybe Krista runs into a different character. Maybe she runs into Jesus, who has a connection with Clementine. Maybe she runs into a character that never even met Clementine. And that's that. As I said, like, the possibilities are really endless with this. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I gotta come up with a title for this video. That's gonna be a pain in the ass, so I'm gonna work on it while this video renders. So thank you guys for watching. Goodbye.